Football Show. Eagle Way. Dan, why do players and fans act like you never played Davis's position before? Hey, Tone, can you put that back up there again? I just want to make sure that I read that super chat here. I didn't get it. Oh, here we go. You are a dog. Is there any defensive players that remind you of yourself? I never had that asked to me, Eagle Way. If I had to compare myself on how I like to play, it would have to be Steve McMichael. You guys remember that player? It would be like Steve McMichael. Remember the old Chicago Bear guy? Kind of like that. You know, there were other great players on your team. You were productive. You put a lot of numbers up, but the Hamptons and the Singletaries and the other guys, it was kind of probably like Steve McMichael, like Mongo, like that. Probably it would be like Manny Fernandez of the old Miami Dolphins. Manny Fernandez actually said, because we used to share the Orange Bowl with the Dolphins, and he used to come and watch me play. And by the way, I posted it before. Manny Fernandez always said that I reminded him of how he played. And I always thought that was a tremendous honor because I thought Manny Fernandez was a heck of a ball player with the Dolphins. He played on that no-name defense. And I posted that. He's friends of mine on Facebook. I think he went to University of Utah. And it was kind of like those two guys to me, you know, a little bit of Joe Klecko, big, strong dude. Joe could play. Joe was a multiple guy. I couldn't play end like he could. But Joe was maybe a little taller than me. Okay, I think he was 6'3.5", so he was a little taller than me. Yeah, those were back in the Bonacani days, those guys. So, yeah, I've never had that asked to me. Yeah, Steve McMichael and probably Manny Fernandez. Some of you guys are going, who the hell are those dudes? Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Final hour of the program. All right. Real quick, I got to do this, guys. I haven't done it yet. I want to give kudos to the University of Miami for making it to the Final Four. I got to tell you guys a quick story before we move on to some football news here in the final hour. You ready? So 1985, they decided to start the basketball program. By the way, we're going to have Rick Barry on tomorrow. We're going to talk to him about Joel Embiid's chances of winning the MVP and also, too, a little bit on the Final Four. Rick played at the University of Miami, and they stopped the program for like 20 years. I never realized this, but when I was at UM, we only had baseball and football. We had track and field, but it wasn't funded a lot. We only had 2 programs, and it just so happens both those programs won national championships. I think the baseball program under Ron Frazier had 3 titles, and then we would go on and win 5. But the basketball was not around. All of a sudden, they decided to start this thing up. It was JFK Day, November 22nd, I think, either the 22nd or the 26th. In 1985, they started the program. And we were like, Ron, and what was the guy's name? Bill Foster. He used to coach Virginia Tech. He gets the job. We were so friendly to those guys. Yeah, what's his name? Al Horford's dad. Al Horford's father. What was his name? He first went to the University of Houston, I think LSU, and then he transferred to Miami. But Al Horford's dad came to Miami, and he was like the very first like big-time recruit they ever got. Tito Holford, that's it. It was Tito. Thank you. William? Whoa. It was Tito Holford. And this guy was a great basketball player. And I became friends with Tito. My friend on that team was Kevin Presto. He was a point guard. Man, they used to play in a place called the Knight Center in downtown Miami. Like, this is where you put on plays and Shakespeare shit. And it must have seated about 5,000 people. And they play basketball games in there. It was so terrible. We had no facilities. Football. Get this. When we wanted to get ready to say we wanted to play against West Virginia, we didn't have a turf field. So you know what Ron Frazier would let us do? Ron Frazier would let the football program practice in the outfield. And so we practiced for a night in the outfield, and we'd go play like the Gators had turf or wherever AstroTurf was. We didn't have a lot of money. The school never wanted to put money into the football program because they didn't like our image. They thought we were too ghetto, as we were told. Tad Foote didn't like our football program because Big Sills was one of the guys who did everything in his power to push the outlaw image, and I did, and I liked it, and I wanted it. So did Jerome. But the school hated it. They hated us. I think, personally, they hated the black kids from the inner city because they don't really recruit. And they're getting back to it now with Mario, but they just don't recruit where they need to. Overtown, Liberty City, Belglades. That's where all the football players are. You know why? There's no out. You see the difference with today's kids and the kids that I played with? You were either going to be killed, in jail, or you were going to make it in the NFL. No other, or maybe go to the Army. That's it. That's it. I mean, I played with drug dealers. I played with guys who carried guns. And get this, it was a commonplace. I played with guys who played ball in the day and sold drugs at night. No names, but it's true. Luther Campbell, to this day, is one of the most important people in my life. Uncle Luke. Uncle Luke used to take care of Big Sills. Still does. I love Luther Campbell. Anytime Luther Campbell asks me for something, I'm there for him. I'll always be there for Luther Campbell. One of the coolest and greatest guys I've ever been around. Funny, my friends would all go, this guy's getting arrested. He's saying all those nasty words, and you're like, you're running security for him when he's doing a concert in Overtown in Liberty City. And I'm like, yeah, that shit, I welcome that stuff. I never ran from that. But see, our school's in the middle of White Guy University, and that's Coral Gables. I mean, the only black folks that are in Coral Gables were on the football team. That guy's running around. Dude, Coral Gables is a wealthy, affluent area, and they hate it. Well, they didn't really hate us, but they were nervous of us. They were nervous. And the president of the university, Tad Foote, hated us. That's why when they got the basketball program going, they were a little nervous. Are we going to be an institution for higher learning, or are we going to be a sports program? Well, people go to Miami and know Miami because of what the football team did, not because of some guy sitting with a protractor or some guy at some lab or some guy doing something at a giving speeches somewhere. You're known at the university. Why? Because of the football team. You're not known. Nobody knows who the University of Miami is because you got the best debate team on the planet. Okay? UM's a great university. It is. I enjoyed myself. I loved going to school at the University of Miami. I'll always be a hurricane. Always be a hurricane. Seal still makes people nervous. Joseph, you don't know what an understatement that is today. Okay? you have no idea. It's a great law school. I think F. Lee Bailey went to school there. 85 goes Sills. How we signed a guy in Edmonds who graded higher. Okay. So what? You think he's better? The Steelers don't move off of people and upgrade off of people that they draft. They let them walk. So 85, because Chris Collinsworth graded him higher. You take that to the bank? Chris Collinsworth graded him higher, Edmonds. Okay. If that's what your barometer is, Chris Collinsworth and Pro Football Focus, that's who owns it, is Chris Collinsworth. So Chris Collinsworth grades Edmonds higher than Gardner Johnson, who just signed a $10 million contract. And you're trying to convince yourself that Edmonds is better. Played on a shittier defense. Hey, I don't think the Saints thought that guy Gardner Johnson. Well, they may have. I don't know. They may have. You can't be mad at a $600K deal. No, I'm not. But it's dollar store shopping. 85. It's dollar store shopping. Linebacker, Edmonds, Penny. These are all valued pickups. And in my opinion, filling a roster. They don't have enough guys to go to camp right now. They need 90 guys. They don't even have a linebacking core. Just dudes. 85. Think about this. You signed the Bears downgrade. William goes, Dan beat Randy White's freshman bench record. 405. When I got to Miami, I did 550. Yeah, 405. When I still hold the record there at Maryland. I got records at two places, University of Maryland, University of Miami in the weight room. I did 405, I think it was, my freshman year when I was 18 at Maryland. And it's still up. Hey, you know what? You know, when you throw a guy out of a window, man, they kind of try to forget you. So Big Sills threw a guy out a window, and, you know, I don't know, man. They took my varsity letter away, and I don't know. I can't believe that record's still up there, but it is. That record's still there. Yeah, it was a first story window, and it had a snowbank. It sounds tougher than it is. It's not really all that tough. Okay, it sounds tougher. Oh, I told you the story. My grandmother went in with Bobby Ross, and they're crying. Oh my God, his college. Yeah, man. Called them down there. Damn, Sills crazy. Yeah. Oh, Yale. No, you know what Bobby Ross said? He goes, what if there was an air conditioning unit? Because I stayed in this dorm called Ellicott. And the plows used to push the snow up against the building. And we used to have these like lounge rooms. And seriously, I mean, he must have felt like, but still, it was a pretty good fall. But he fell in a snowbank. And Ross goes, well, what if he fell in an air conditioning unit and killed himself? That's what the problem was. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I never thought of that. He goes, I know. But Bobby and I became friends. The doctor told not to lift anything heavy, so sit down when I yeah. Oh, Big Sills was crazy strong, dude. 405 at 18. 18 years old, I rolled in there. I still own that record, man. Sills, why didn't you attend Notre Dame? It's a Catholic school. I know you had an offer. Okay. This is before we move on. So they recruit me to go to Notre Dame. Jerry Fouts was there. And they take me around. I forget who you know what? Who was the coach of Wisconsin? Was it Barry Alvarez? Barry Alvarez was the coordinator, I think, at Notre Dame. I think it was Barry Alvarez. Foge was at Pitt. I think it was Barry Alvarez. And Barry Alvarez, Evan. Oh man. Hey, Barry Alvarez took me around, and they were like, I was like this, hey, where are the women? And he goes, they go to St. Mary's. I'm like, what? I go, Notre Dame doesn't have chicks going to school here? He goes, they go to St. Mary's right across the way here. And I went, so hang on here. Notre Dame doesn't have women, and you want Big Sills to go to Notre Dame? No women, no Big Sills. They're right there at St. Mary's. And I'm like, well, I got back to my nuns and sisters and my coach, Joe Anslone. Did you actually tell the Father Harrigan guy who's like the AD, he's a priest, that no chicks, no Dan? I went, I think I did. Wow, did I get in trouble for that? Holy shit. I got huge, oh my God. They're like, you told a priest, no chicks, no Dan. I went, yeah. I go, no chicks, no Dan. Dan's not going to an all-dude school. Before you know it, you're pinning in the shower next to a dude called Chip. That ain't working. Sorry, Chip Kelly. That ain't happening. No, Big Sills don't go to school with no school with no women. That ain't gonna work for me. Not happening. Oh. When Jimmy was on, now you understand why Jimmy Johnson said I was a handful. Oh, God. Hey, somebody goes like this, Dan, why'd you, I don't even know if I should tell you that one, why I threw the guy out the window. It was more of a push. Him and his boys were like messing with me because I was talking to his girlfriend, and guy came up with his 5 guys, window, this big picture window. It wasn't very high. Guy goes, that's my girlfriend. Big Sills goes, hey, Yale. Big Sills goes like this. Not tonight, she's not. He goes, that's my girlfriend. I said, I just told you. So I beat all 4 of these dudes up, and I threw that guy out the window. And I looked around, I go, well, who wants to get another one of these? That was the end of that. I beat up. My wife saw me beat 5 guys up once at a gym. She's like, that was tremendous. Yeah, I don't do that shit anymore, though, man. I'm retired now. I don't do that. I'm retired, man. I'm a lover now. That was long ago. I'm more relaxed today than I ever was. All right, let's get into this. I want to throw these out here. This is the win totals. This is the win totals that Vegas has and Atlantic City for the upcoming season. Who do you think the bettors have? Who do you think the bettors have? As a team that will win the most games this coming year. What 2 teams are Atlantic City and Vegas saying will win the most games? Chiefs. By the way, the number's 11.5. Eagles will win 17. Chiefs. One other team. AFC. AFC team. AFC. One's the Chiefs. 11.5 wins. Bengals, Tyler. Very good. The Bengals and the Chiefs are favored by the bettors in Atlantic City and Vegas at 11.5. Number 2, what team is favored to win the second most games in the NFL? Who do you think? Bills, Chargers, Jets. Nope, not the Bills, not the Jets. What team is the second favorite team to win 11 games? Miami? Nope. The San Francisco 49ers are the second favorite team. And they would play in the Super Bowl because Bengals and Chiefs, AFC teams, are favored at 11.5. They're saying there's your two AFC championship teams as of right now, Bengals and Chiefs. I like it. Tied for third. Tied for third. Bills and Eagles. So, this is what the bettors are saying as of right now. They're saying your conference championship games on March 27th are Bengals and Chiefs and 49ers and Eagles again. That's who they have favored to get back to the conference title games. Same conference opponents as this past season. Okay? I do think the Bills need work. I think the Bills need work in the second. Yeah, I'll tell you where I think the Bills need work. I'll tell you what. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are 8 teams here. After that, the Jags are the 4th rated team, and they're expected or predicted to win 10. Cowboys and Lions are projected to win 9.5. So the Lions, in my opinion, are going to be the movers. Let's do this here. Let's go up the list because I think these 8 teams, any one of these teams can win a Super Bowl this year. Look at the Lions. Dan Campbell has turned out to be a heck of a coach. My opinion, I think Dan Campbell, Chris Spielman and all them guys there, I think they're turning the corner in this organization. Jameson Williams, I think, is going to be a fabulous football player. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. Jared Goff is playing great ball. I'm a big fan of this Lions team. I think they're adding components. I think they'll go defense again in the draft. Remember pre-draft and after the draft with free agent signings, too early to predict. Actually, Sydney, they were trades. Your biggest moves were trades. So Howie would have to trade, but he doesn't have the money this year to trade. You don't have the money. You got to take care of Jalen Hurts and your draft. You don't have money for free agents. That's why the signings have been so dollar store type signings. Nobody was big money. I mean, when you passed on Bobby Wagner, that's all you needed to know. It was a need position. You had to have the need position. And guess what? You passed on him. Okay. You'd rather pay for the Bears downgrade than for Bobby Wagner. That's all you need to know in a nutshell. Yeah, like Gail just said, these were all value signs, filling a need, not massive upgrades anywhere. Edmonds is not a better player than Gardner Johnson. And quite frankly, when people go like this other guy here is a better tackler, and he's that defensive scheme they were in, they were asked to play center field. Nobody was asked to be a press corner. Nobody was asked to get in someone's face and be man coverage. You were told to be in a zone. Keep everything underneath. Don't get exposed on the plus 25. That was the philosophy of your coordinator a year ago. You resemble what your coordinator coaches you to do inside the scheme. That's why You can't have it both ways. I don't know what Sean Desai is going to do. Well, we knew what Jonathan Gannon did. He was afraid of plus 25. That's why the elite quarterbacks torched you for 80% completion percentage, 75% completion percentage, hung 40 on you, like Dak Prescott did, because those defensive backs are overpaid. Well, the defensive backs in the Eagle system of a year ago were overpaid because they were never asked to press coverage. And when they had to press coverage in the Super Bowl, Andy Reid and Mahomes ran circles around them, trying to pass off wide receivers in the Super Bowl when they hadn't done that shit all year. They got into the Super Bowl and they were trying to pass receivers off. They ran circles around them. Those guys, you got two corners that you're paying north of $14 million a piece that played center field a year ago. They're not man cover guys. That's why Detroit moved Darius Slay. He's not a man cover dude. He never has been. Never will be. Can't play man. Every time he plays man, he gets killed. Playing center field all day. That's why when you look at them not being great tacklers, how could you be a great tackler when you're 25 yards down the field? Great tackler. So the kid Edmonds had to have better numbers because people were running through, and I never got this because you got Hayward in that D-line. They were running through the Steeler line. He put up bigger tackling numbers because the secondary was making all the plays because they were getting destroyed. They got killed on the run. The Steelers have been atrocious on the run the last 2 years. I mean, so you got to look at what happened. Same thing with the Bears. The guy had 116 tackles. Yeah, you know why? He's tackling from behind. He's chasing them down the field. You're making a tackle 10, 15 yards down the field. Is that a quality tackle? Really? Quality tackle is at the line of scrimmage filling holes, stopping the run. That's where you get them Levon Kirkland dudes that blow holes up like that. Those are linebackers you want. You want linebackers like Seth Joyner blowing a play up. Okay? Don't agree they played center field because of John. I just said that, Chris. Chris, I said that. They got paid for playing center field. But when Slay had to be a press cover guy in Detroit, because that's what they play in New England, and Matt Patricia got brought into Detroit to put that man coverage in, Slay couldn't play it. That's why they made the deal. Slay was asked to play center field. He did a fantastic job of it. That's not a $15 million corner, though. Guys who can't play man coverage, I don't know. Not one of the corners that the Eagles have is Sauce Gardner or Stephon Gilmore in his prime. Shit, Jalen Ramsey in his prime. Those guys were prime time. Who was the dude, too, that played up in New England forever? Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis may be one of the greatest corners of all time. He had a technique of pushing your ass out of bounds because he was so physical. Those are guys you pay big money to. You don't pay money to a guy sitting out there in center field. But again, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. But you want to know why? Quarterbacks crushed them for high percentage completions. Anybody who was worth a shit went over 75% completion against the Eagles. And by the way, Pro Football Focus had them as the worst tackling team in the league a year ago. The number 2 ranked team in the NFL had the worst tackling team in the NFL. Go figure. How's that? Crazy. That's because the D coordinator never trusted the players on the field. Player production is what turned the corner. It wasn't Gannon's unbelievable system that he had. I mean, Jonathan Gannon, Yale, I'm starting to believe that, Yale. It's a different league now because the league, you know what? And it's a great point. It's a great point. That's why maybe Howie Roseman's looking at today's NFL. How important is it to you to have the number one defense in the NFL? Is it important anymore? It's a great question. How important is it to have the top-rated defense in the league anymore? I don't know anymore. Because if the league keeps changing the rules and keeps changing the way you can hit a quarterback, you can hit a receiver, you can make tackles down the field, what they're telling you over, can you name me one change in the rule book that favored the defensive player? The only one that I can think of is the crackback. That's the only change that I can think of that the NFL Rules Committee helped out the defender was that it was the crackback play. Crackbacks and I think running picks. I think are the only two things that I can think of. You can't run picks, and it's a dangerous play when you run receivers cross like this because players slam into one another and you're talking about really injuring guys. You can run a guy into a bad play. Okay? So, but most of these rule changes have been for the offense. Can't hit defenseless receiver. What is that? They have made more subjective calls for the offensive players. You don't even know what a sack is. And so they put the game in more of the hands of the ref. Why? So the league can control the game. The more control the ref has of the game, the more control the league has of it. So they can legislate it. Well, now they're talking at the owner meetings right now. They're talking about lightening up on hits on the quarterback. Why would you do that? Lighten up on those hits on them wideouts. The quarterbacks, I don't want to see Case Keenum versus Chase Daniels in a Super Bowl. That's my biggest fear. I don't want to see that. I want to see Mahomes and Hurts. I don't want to see Gardner Minshew, and I don't want to see Chase Daniels in a Super Bowl ever. I don't want to see backup quarterbacks. Okay? I want to see the marquee guys, the reason you're paying people $50 million. I'm all right with protecting them guys now because they're the face of the league. They make money for D tackles. Okay? They make money for D tackles and offensive linemen, those quarterbacks. They're dragging the rest of the positions along with them. Okay? But legislate those wideouts, but they don't. So maybe today's defensive guys, maybe you have to play like Gannon. Jonathan Gannon got the head coaching job in Arizona for a reason. And you know what that is? Maybe because he came up with a defense that said this: hey, just keep everything in front. You have a quality offense and a really good offense. This league's about offense. It's not about defense. Being a second-ranked defense in the NFL, hey, watch this. You guys had 70-plus sacks, right? Didn't matter. Couldn't get to Mahomes. Really didn't matter. You needed a running back that showed up. And Quez Watkins, not to have brick hands, right? It was more on those guys. They couldn't stop Mahomes. Okay, but, really, there were two guys that cost the Eagles that Super Bowl. Hurts' play was bad luck, but the Quez Watkins drop and Miles Sanders not showing up. Those two players, man, they were terrible in that game. And I think it cost them. Okay? It's an offensive league. So, again, I think Howie's looking at it like this. Why should I spend all my money? Hey, look, I made this very clear to you guys. And I think there's a lot to be said. Would I have spent $20 million on Javon Hargrave? No. I don't think he's a $20 million player. I think he's a really good player, but $20 million? And some go, well, Dan, it's today's NFL. Yeah, but with my cap and all this other positions that I have to field, that's why he'd rather – Howie went this way. Well, I'll just pay Fletch 10. He almost had 11. He almost had 10 sacks. He had 7. I'll give him 10. And get this. He's a homegrown guy. Hargrave's not. Hargrave's not a homegrown guy. I think that's why it was easier also to kick his ass out the door. He's not a homegrown. The Eagles like their homegrown dudes. Brandon Graham, here's some money. Fletcher Cox, here's some money. Hey, Jason Kelsey, here's a lot of money. Come back, please. They like that shit, and it's good. It's Raiderish with Al Davis back in the day. And I think that's important. It creates a good culture. So Howie went like this. Well, he's older. We got Milton Williams. Jordan's got to play. We'll probably draft another tackle to help everyone out. But I feel the Eagles felt more comfortable giving Fletcher Cox $10 million than paying Javon Hargrave $20 million. That's what it came down to. Howie felt that it's going to be more important for him to fill the 90-man roster right now, get ready for training camp, and he'll make a deal on draft day. I have the feeling, in my opinion, that I think he's going to make another deal on draft day. I don't know what that is. I think it's got a lot to do with that 10th pick because people are going to want a quarterback there. They're going to want a quarterback. And now, get this. Figure this out. How much does Lamar Jackson play into draft day? Look, I think you got 5 quarterbacks now. The 4 QBs in the top 10, and I think you've got Lamar Jackson now. Makes it 5. You got 5. You got 5 quarterbacks that could be dealt on draft day. That means Jalen Carter could slide down to 10 to Howie. And I think you're going to have this happen. What if the Jets? What if the Titans come in? What if the Commanders come in? What if Lamar Jackson is going to see a lot more traction as we get closer to the draft in April? Okay? And what Yale just said, where does he go? Where does Will Levis go? Where does Anthony Richardson go? Where does CJ Stroud go? And where does Bryce Young go? You got 5 Aaron Rodgers could play a factor in draft day. You got 6 now. If Rodgers, I think the Packers are going to wait until draft day. Because the Packers, they want the Jets' number 1 pick. The Jets don't want to give it. That's why I would, if I were the Jets and Joe Douglas, I'd get in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. And I would use that leverage against him in Green Bay. Okay, the Jets have cleared up space for him to put him on the roster. Niners can't make that move because the Niners have too much money in other positions. Now, could you move equity? You could probably move equity in Trey Lance and some other guys on the team, but you still don't have the cap space. Lamar to Atlanta, because he's from the South, he's from South Florida. Tua's out because they just picked up the $18 or $20 million, whatever it is, $23 million option that he's going to make this year. I think that's out unless you send Tagovailoa to Baltimore. Could you send Tagovailoa to Baltimore? That would be give me Tagovailoa in 2 ones. And you're only paying your guy $23 million, and you get Tyler Huntley as a backup still. So you theoretically have 6 quarterbacks. Howie's sitting at that 10th pick. Okay? Kyle Pitts, he's a great-looking player from the Gators. He's really good. I would say this to you. Okay? Howie at 10? Would you trade the 10th pick for Jeffrey Simmons to Tennessee so they can move off of Ryan Tannehill finally? Or you do this, Howie. Give me the 10th pick. I'll give you Jeffrey Simmons. Then what you do with Baltimore, you have 2 ones. And you could send them to Baltimore. The 2 ones, and you're under the cap. You're going to have to let loose Derrick Henry, though. This guy Simmons, man, he's the dude. I'm telling you, man. If you put Jeffrey Simmons on that Philadelphia Eagles D-line, man, that'd be some unit. Fletcher Cox, Jeffrey Simmons, Jordan Davis, maybe Jalen Carter. No, because you'd get the 10 up. Simmons, Cox, Davis, Williams is your inside tackles. You're young, you're experienced, and you got a transition plan in order. Jeffrey Simmons becomes Fletcher Cox next year, and you restructure that contract, and you're hoping Davis plays big. And then you got Jeffrey Simmons and Jordan Davis as your two defensive tackles. I don't know about production, but I tell you this, getting off the bus would look awful impressive with Jordan Mailata, Jordan Davis, and Jeffrey Simmons. That'd be some horses coming at you, man. Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson. Dude, you need one of them big old turbo jets to move that team around. That's a lot of beef. That's a lot of beef, man. The C-190s or whatever the hell their things are called, man. Them cargo planes. How are the Eagles getting to Dallas? Yeah, they're on one of those big C-190s, man. Yeah, they get off the boat and these Universal soldiers walk off. That's some big dudes, man, on that football team. Simmons is friendly with AJ. Again, hey, AJ likes to bark at Tennessee. Have him start barking at Simmons. Come on over, man. Tennessee wants to get rid of that guy, and they're floating out Derrick Henry. Holy shit. If I'm Mike Vrabel, I want out. Time to move on, dog. Or get this. Either Mike Vrabel moves on or they'll move him on. All right, let me hit a timeout here. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the